Hi there, I'm Lapis, and this story happened 3 years ago. It's about my older cousin, who we'll call Kayla. She wasn't the nicest and turned my life into hell, but looking back, I don't blame her. Please keep listening, and you find out why. I grew up in California and pretty much had the lifestyle of a nature lover and a bookworm combined. Summers were the best time of the year in my opinion, and I felt like I'll be able to enjoy my life. That is until I was 9 that my parents announced that we were moving in with my aunt's family in Louisiana. I'll be honest, this was hard for me to accept because it felt like I was throwing away my perfect life. But at the same time, I tried to stay positive and just told myself that this would be a chance to have a fresh start to life. Little did I know about the nightmare that was coming my way. My aunt and uncle were super rich, and as soon as we got there, that was where I met Kayla. I thought that she was beautiful, with her long brown hair and bright blue eyes, yet she couldn't hear what I was saying to her because she was deaf. I was super excited because back at home I was always so lonely while my parents and aunt went off to work. I figured that Kayla would be like the older sister that I never had, and that we would spend all of our time together doing each other's hair and staying up talking about our lives. But it didn't take me long to realize how wrong I was about all of that. It turns out that Kayla was a very temperamental and unstable individual. She seriously hated me and was never interested in spending any time together. I thought that she was just shy and uncomfortable around me since I seemed to be impressing her dad a lot. So I tried talking with her to make her more comfortable. But one day, when I was telling her about my own life back at home, she suddenly grabbed me by the hair and threw me to the ground and started kicking me with her heels. Then she looked at me for a second and walked away. I told myself that it only happened because she was probably sick and that I was giving her a headache. So I let it slip by and forgave her almost immediately. But then, it started happening more and more often whenever we were alone, and she would get more unstable depending on whether I did something as small as walk too loudly or open or close a door too loudly. But despite all of that, I still let her get away with it because I thought that Kayla wasn't wearing a hearing aids and didn't hear me when I told her to stop. Then one day, when my family went out for the day and left me home alone with Kayla, I stayed inside of my room to avoid upsetting her and getting beaten up. For a while, things were alright, and she didn't come banging at my door like she usually did. I actually thought that I would be able to get through the day without any bruises, or when I went down to the kitchen, and that was when it happened. I was just getting something from the fridge when suddenly something hit me hard on the left side of my face, and I was completely soaked with water on my left side. I looked over to where it came from and saw Kayla staring right at me like a raging bull. She had thrown a full glass jug right at me because, according to her, I disturbed her peace by opening the fridge door. Was she insane or something? Now, there was no doubt that she was wearing a hearing aids, or maybe she was faking being deaf. My face was bleeding like crazy, and I was about to leave the room when Kayla came up behind me and wrapped her arms around me tightly. She told me to clean up the blood because she already had to do it at a friend's house once. That was the moment I realized she had done this before to other innocent people, yet I just did what she told me to because I was afraid that she would do something much more worse if I refused. After that, I locked myself in my bedroom and sobbed on the floor for hours. I couldn't believe it. The person who I thought would be the new best friend turned out to be the worst person ever. I wanted to report her to the police, or at least tell someone, but at the same time, Kayla would retaliate by ending my life. So instead, I spent most of my time hidden in my bedroom and wearing oversized clothes to hide my bruises and gashes. But it wasn't like it ever stopped because my parents, aunt, and uncle went out often and they were completely blind towards Kayla's actions. This went on for 6 years until one day when my family went out again. I went into my room again, but after some time, when I was looking out my window, I saw Kayla running away from the mansion. What was happening? Where was she going? Was this why I didn't see her much when the family was out? I really wanted to know what was going on, so I ran downstairs and secretly followed her. Kayla ran off to a cemetery with some flowers, and then she started weeping next to a famous gamer's grave, saying that the things hadn't been the same and that she'd become a monster ever since the gamer's passing. That was when it hit me. Kayla had only been mean to me because she was dealing with the loss of her best friend. I stayed out of Kayla's sight to avoid being beaten again. Now I had more than enough reason not to be mad at her and decided to make it up for her, and it didn't really sound like a good idea because I was planning to put on my normal clothes. But I had to do it. My 15th birthday was coming up, and that was when I planned to expose Kayla, even though it might lead to her doing something much worse. I had to do it. This needed to stop. This is it. The night I've been waiting for. I was in my bedroom removing my oversized clothes and then putting back on my old clothes. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I was horrified to see all of the dark bruises on my arms and legs. I've been scared of my cousin for years at this point, but deep down, I needed to stand up for myself and put an end to her torment. She's been taking her anger out on me for so long, when she would have told someone who could help her. Right when I was about to sneak out and follow Kayla again, I heard my bedroom door open. When I turned around, I saw my mom standing at the doorway, and she looked shocked to see the bruises and scars. Her eyes filled with tears as she came over and asked me what had happened. Seeing her sad face made me upset too. I knew there was no way out of this, so through my sobs, I told them everything. My dad was angry at Kayla, and he told my aunt everything. Kayla ended up being taken away by the police, and because of her age, she was considered an adult, and I haven't seen her since that day. I tried telling my parents that Kayla only beat me because she was upset, but they didn't believe that and thought that she was a lunatic who didn't deserve to be left at home alone with me. Looking back now, even though Kayla made my life a living hell, I don't blame her for any of this. She's serving 5 years in prison, and I hope that a restraining order won't be involved because I want to help Kayla get better. To those out there who are listening, please don't do what my cousin did. I miss her very much and hope that when I see her again, she will be a different person. I want to share my story because I know that there are some people who have been through something similar. I also want to let you all know that family violence is a real thing. Please stand up for yourself if you ever find yourself going through the exact same thing. Feel better soon, Kayla. I love you.